I know you have a boot on your foot here. When you think about the timeline of getting back in there, you've always been very active throughout your UFC career. When do you want to get back in there?
Ja, ainda bem que o nocaute ele rápido.
Yeah, we have to see how this heals up. I'm pretty sure it's broken. You know, I was kicking his legs, and when he switched stances, as soon as I kick his lead leg, you know, I felt my foot, so we'll have to see.
Rajah Jackson, Rampage Jackson's son, one of the biggest names in MMA, is now facing serious time behind bars. Prosecutors are pushing for felony charges after a brutal altercation that left another athlete hospitalized last month. In this video, we will cover other topics as well, such as Alex Pereira and Magomed Ankalaev, who go over the new footage which shows a broken rib injury just weeks before their fight for Magomed, and what Pereira's team said afterward completely flipped the story upside down. So stay locked in, subscribe right now so you don't miss the truth behind the next wave of MMA chaos, and let's dive right in. This week in MMA didn't just get loud, it cracked wide open. A rising star might go from the spotlight to a courtroom. A champion and a top contender stepped into a cage with questions around their bodies and minds. Video clips, hot takes, and rumors poured in like a flood. If you blinked, you missed another twist. People kept asking the same thing: how did it all get this wild this fast? It started with a big promise about a fight on the most famous lawn in the world.
We're going to have a UFC fight. We're going to have a UFC fight. Think of this, on the grounds of the White House. We have a lot of land there. We're going to build a little, we're not, Dana's going to do it. Dana's great, one of a kind. We're going to have a UFC fight, championship fight, full fight, like 20, 25,000 people.
It grew into call-outs and personal drama. It exploded with a finish that shocked everyone and a secret that may have changed the whole story. And then, out of nowhere, a legal case pulled the room to a hush. When you line it all up, it feels like a movie that moves too fast to breathe. But it's real. Every win, every word, every injury, every rumor. Some stories will end with belts. Some might end with bars. And at the center of it all is a sport that never slows down, even when the people in it are hurting. This is the week that proved the fight isn't just in the cage. It's everywhere. A former president stepped up to a mic and turned a press moment into a headline that grabbed the whole sport. He said there will be a UFC event at the White House on June 14th, 2026, his birthday. Think about that for a second. A cage on the White House grounds, cameras everywhere, fighters walking past history to touch gloves.
Seems to be a UFC fight on the White House lawn. What more are you hearing about those plans?
Yeah, the president said he wants a series of festivities to mark the country's 250th anniversary, including a champion UFC fight here at the White House with thousands of spectators.
It sounds like a scene nobody ever expected, and yet here we are, talking about it like a real plan. Fans split fast. Some loved the idea and said it would be the biggest crossover event the sport has ever had. Others worried it would turn fighting into a political show and that it would distract from the athletes. Inside gyms, fighters shrugged and said the same thing they always say: if there's a cage and a paycheck, someone will fight. But questions remain. How do you set up a card there? Who headlines? What rules do you need for security and crowd control? Still, the idea lit a spark. It gave people something wild to picture. It also set the tone for a week where the line between sport and spectacle got thinner and thinner.
With the 55 or the 70, what's his name? Gilbert. Yeah. Like once he realizes he can't like maul you and you don't quit, he quits and turns into a boxing match. And I just don't know if there's anybody at that division other than me that like knows what it's like to grapple those. I've been training with those cave dwellers my whole fucking life, dude. Like.
Then a middleweight with a big mouth and a bigger gas tank poured gasoline on the fire. Sean Strickland made it clear he doesn't want to fight Israel Adesanya next. He said Izzy is the easier fight, which was a bold thing to say about a former champion. Instead, he said he wants Anthony Fluffy Hernandez, a pressure machine with cardio for days. And under all that, he pointed his focus at Khamzat Chimaev. Sean talks like a guy who wants the hardest path. He believes if he mauls Fluffy, it proves he can smother the boogeyman at 185. He says he's trained with the best wrestlers and knows the feel of that grind. He thinks Chimaev can't break him. That kind of talk isn't just hype, it's a promise to the fans. I will show up and I will not stop. But it also paints a target on his back. Hernandez is not a warm-up. Chimaev is not a weekend job. The style matchups are real. Non-stop pressure, clinch wars, cage pins, heavy jabs, and ugly minutes. Sean says he loves ugly minutes. He wants the kind of fight where heart decides it all. If he gets it, we find out if his mouth and his mindset match his skills.
Can anybody get under your skin? Does anybody get under your skin? Somebody that knows to say something that triggers. I see your face is saying something though.
I think the only person is my wife. She's the only person.
Away from the callouts, a different kind of story started to spread. Fans noticed that Ilia Topuria and his wife had changed their social media pages. Photos seemed to vanish. Their timelines looked different. People began to whisper that they might have split. No statement came from either side. No posts, no comment, just silence and one last photo left on Ilia's page. In a sport where confidence and control are key, personal life can be a giant weight you carry to the cage. It can help you focus or make your hands feel heavy. Fans love the mystery, and we'll talk about it for weeks. But behind the noise are two people who might be going through something hard. It's fair to wonder what it means for training, mindset, and performance. It's not fair to pretend we know. That tension between what fans want to know and what people deserve to keep private sits at the heart of this rumor. Maybe the story fades, maybe it comes back with a single post that clears everything up. Until then, the silence is a story all by itself, and in this sport, silence makes people lean in. In the arena, emotions ran just as hot. When Alex Pereira stopped Magomed Ankalaev, the clip flew around the world in seconds.
What is it about getting down to the source that made you think he was using black magic?
I don't want to speak about that fully because still it is something what I am humble for, and everyone has their own way. I will not speak about where is the magic.
But one camera caught something else. Gigi Prochaska standing there, wiping away tears. It wasn't because he hated one guy or loved the other. It was because the result meant something huge. It meant a third chance with Pereira might be real. Gigi fights like a storm. He takes risks most people won't take. He trusts chaos. He believes there is always a way, even when the path is thin and sharp. Seeing Pereira win opened a door he thought might be closing. That kind of moment hits deep. It mixes fear and hope. It tells a fighter, your biggest mountain is still there. You can still climb it. For Gigi, that's fuel. For fans, it's a story they can feel. A warrior chasing a rival, not out of anger, but because he wants the hardest test, the one that proves who he is. He wasn't crying for the past. He was crying for the chance to write the ending he wants. Then the rumor started that changed how people watched the replay. A video came out that seemed to show Ankalaev dealing with a rib injury before the fight. In the clip, you could hear questions about the pain, about where it hurt most, and how it spread. It looked like a training check, the kind where a coach tries to figure out if a fighter can go.
On the Countdown show, one of your coaches said about Alex that he was like an old kickboxer who's slow and doesn't have like the true knockout power.
Ну, если так сказал мой тренер, конечно, я согласен, и мы подтвердим это.
The talk online said the injury was recorded about 20 days before the bout. Some claim the team tried to stop him from fighting. Only they know what was really said behind closed doors. But the idea alone shocked people. Fighting with a rib problem is a nightmare. Breathing hurts. Every twist is a shock. Every body shot feels like a hammer. When the fight ended fast, critics said it explained everything. Supporters said a fighter will always fight, and that's what he did. Either way, the video added a shadow to the result. It doesn't erase what happened in the cage. It does add a layer to the story. A proud athlete gambling on himself and paying for it with pain. On the other side, Alex Pereira's team posted a clip of their own. It showed Alex calmly rewatching the finish with his coaches. They broke down the sequence. They pointed to the moments that mattered. There was talk that maybe those elbows, that overhand, those sharp, tight shots could have caused or worsened the rib damage during the fight itself. Again, no one outside that room can prove it, but the belief was clear. It added heat to the debate. Was Ankalaev already hurt, or did Alex's shots do the damage? Maybe it was both. What stood out even more was how prepared Alex looked. He didn't rush. He didn't flinch. He saw the opening, put the right hand over the top, closed the space, and finished with precision. Champions often make chaos look simple. This looked simple because he had drilled it so many times that his body could do it without doubt. Whether the rib talk is true or not, the technique was clean. It was a reminder that in a sport full of noise, the quiet work matters most. That quiet work was on full display inside Glover Teixeira's gym. You could hear him calling out the drill. Overhand, drop him, step in, elbow, over and over again. Whole teams were repping that exact sequence, the one that showed up on fight night. This is how great camps operate. They take what the fighter does well and laser focus it. They add small details. Foot position, shoulder roll, hip turn, balance on the follow-up. They make it muscle memory. So when the light is bright and the crowd is loud, the fighter does not overthink. He just fires what he owns. Watching that drill told the story in a clean way. The finish wasn't a miracle, it was the plan. And the plan was built rep by rep, day after day, when nobody was filming. It also showed how a coach and a fighter trust each other. Glover asks for a move, Alex delivers it, the team echoes the rhythm, then the cage gets quiet in seconds. People will argue about injuries for months. The tape of that drill will still be there, showing exactly why the ending looks so sharp. In the middle of all this sport talk, a darker headline cut through the timeline. Raja Jackson, a fighter with a growing name, was arrested and released on bond after what officials called a violent incident with a wrestler named Psycho Stu. Reports said prosecutors plan to file 2 charges, a felony count for serious injury and a misdemeanor count for battery. There was also word of a great bodily injury enhancement, which can raise the penalty if a jury agrees the victim's injuries were severe. The details, as shared by authorities, were grim. The victim was hospitalized with broken teeth, cuts, and a facial fracture. His family described damage to his jaw and a deep cut on his lip. None of this is a verdict, and Raja is innocent until proven guilty in court. But the possible time is real. The felony alone can carry up to 4 years. The misdemeanor could add more. An enhancement can push it even higher. For a fighter, time away is more than time lost. It's momentum gone, skills dulled, and a future put on pause. The case will move forward piece by piece. Each hearing will matter. Until then, the sport waits, and a career hangs in the balance. Around the cage, voices chimed in and gave the week its soundtrack. Michael Bisping spoke from experience about what a one-sided loss can do to your head. He talked about the months you sacrifice, the long nights, the missed events, and how a quick loss can make it feel like all that pain was for nothing. He said time away in silence can be the only fix. Daniel Cormier took a big stance and called Merab Dvalishvili the greatest bantamweight he has ever seen in the UFC. That's a loaded title in a stacked division, but DC said the numbers and the dominance speak for themselves. Paddy Pimblett watched Pereira's finish live and pointed out how strong and sharp it looked, saying the UFC is more exciting with Alex on top. Ian Gary went right at Bilal Muhammad, calling him out and pushing for a title run once he gets that fight. Henry Cejudo stirred the pot, saying Merab could even move up and beat Alexander Volkanovski at featherweight. These takes are more than noise. They shape what fans expect next. They tilt the spotlight. They nudge the matchmakers. In MMA, opinions don't just fill air. Sometimes they build the next main event. When you step back from the clips, quotes, and chaos, a clear picture forms. This sport is a storm that never drifts far from land. One day it's a promise of a fight at the most famous house in the country. The next day it's a man in cuffs, a team arguing over whether a rib was already broken, and a warrior crying because his mountain is still there to climb. The threads tie together in a simple way. Everyone is chasing something heavy. Some are chasing glory. Some are chasing respect. Some are chasing a chance to set the record straight. And some are just trying to keep their life from falling apart while the world watches. That's why people can't look away. It's not just kicks and punches. It's choices. It's risk. It's a timer that never stops ticking. Maybe next week brings answers. Maybe it brings new questions. Either way, the lesson holds. Belts shine, rumors spread, bodies break, courts decide, and the fight goes on. In this world, calm is just the space between shocks. And right now, that space is very, very small. This week showed just how unpredictable MMA can be. One moment fans are celebrating huge knockouts and future title fights. The next, headlines turn dark and careers start hanging by a thread. Raja Jackson's case is a harsh reminder that fame and discipline can disappear in seconds. Magomed Ankalaev's rib injury and Alex Pereira's brutal precision remind us that pain in this sport isn't just physical, it's mental, emotional, and lasting. Behind every clip, every quote, and every celebration, there's a fighter carrying pressure most people can't imagine. What makes MMA so gripping isn't just who wins or loses, but how far these athletes are willing to push when everything starts breaking down around them. It's raw, it's real, and sometimes it's ugly, but that's what keeps us watching. If this week was any sign, the stories coming next will only get wilder. Titles will change hands, reputations will rise and fall, and the line between legend and downfall will get even thinner. You don't want to miss what's coming next. Subscribe now and stay locked in, because the next twist in the fight world could drop any second, and you'll want to be here when it does.